Sports Podcast. We're taking the lead, analyzing the game from the rink to the field. From the ice to the turf, we'll break it down. Discussing every win and every loss in town. We'll talk about the Canucks and the Lions. We are your irrational fans. We are your irrational fans.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with episode 117 of the Hughes Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jake Hughes, alongside the old man. Old man, how are you doing today? Are you just going to be a mute today?
I'm just going to be a mute today.
Oh.
I'm good. It's been one of those days. As you can see, it's kind of a different background today. Every week seems to be a different background for me.
Yeah.
Should we tell them I'm still at work? As most people know, I work at Rangeland RV out in Rocky View, Balzac area. And when I booked this for tonight, they had switched my shifts and I completely forgot. So I'm actually sitting at my work desk doing the podcast from my work desk. It works.
It works perfectly well.
Yes.
Because we've got you live where it's crisp, it's clean. No technical issues as of yet. Really, I think this is better than your normal office.
Well, I don't even know what to say to that. We are waiting for a guest today. I just messaged him. So hopefully he comes on. Mr. Dave Campbell from the Edmonton Elks.
Well,
I was going to call them the Eskimo Elks.
Well, with the new owner, it feels like they're really embracing that Elks heritage.
Well, he did say that they will be talking about the Elks. They just won't change their name to the Elks.
Yeah, and I actually just saw a quote here from tweeted out from @CFL_news, a quote from the Elks president saying, "Internally, we will use the term Eskimos because we are proud of that history as an organization that did many great things." He said, explaining how he wants the Eskimos name to be associated with the excellence achieved under it.
Well, I mean, and you look back, obviously it did a little bit of research to kind of jog my memory of the Eskimos and who they were. And I mean, you look back into the late 70s, early 80s, this was the team. They were like the City of Champions didn't come out of nowhere. It came because the Eskimos won 5 Grey Cups in a row. The Oilers won a bunch of Stanley Cups in a row back then. They were the team. So it's holy, we got lots of viewers right away. That's good. Sorry, squirrel viewers. Sorry, and I'm also, if you see me looking off to the side, I'm messaging with Dave now, and he sends his apologies. He was busy with the kids, so I think he's just logging on. So we will have him in a short bit to go over. Look at, I even got notes.
Oh my goodness. Professionally written notes. It's like we run a proper show here.
Yeah, I know, eh? It's like, holy cow, you could tell it wasn't busy at work today.
Well, while we're ragging the puck here a little bit, I don't know if you've been able to stay up to date on what's going on in the Dallas Stars Edmonton Oilers game. Luckily, we're able to catch.
No, I saw nothing is all I saw.
Yes, hopefully we're able to catch some Oilers fans on their intermission break, talking some CFL and Elks. But right now, the Oilers are leading 2-1 at the second intermission.
Oh, okay.
Both teams in the second period scored on the power play.
And they're leading the series 2-1 as well.
They are leading the series 2-1. If Edmonton can hold off in the third period here, they, as well as the Panthers, will have a 3-1 series lead. So it's it'll be interesting to see what happens, especially after how dominant the Panthers looked in the first part of the series, the first 3 games.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see tomorrow how the Hurricanes and Panthers pick that series back up.
Well, so many of the Panthers, I mean, they're hurting. They've got so many of their big stars are down.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I'm still saying the Panthers are going to take that series. It's just a matter of by how much and how quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it since the very beginning of the conference finals. I think we're going to get a repeat of last year's Stanley Cup with Edmonton taking on Florida.
Yes.
Which I think would be great. It would be another super fun, entertaining series. So,
yeah, you just get you just want to see something different. But I did say the Oilers in 6, so I'm still sticking by that. My boss is giving me a hard time.
I'm saying, do you really want to see something different? Because it's Florida's one of the best teams in the NHL, and you've got one of the best players in the world, or two of the best players in the world on the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes, right.
It makes for good hockey. It makes for fun hockey.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
Yes, it will. You might be able to tell I'm still getting over that cold I was dealing with.
I was going to say, you're still fighting that, eh? Is it a cold or?
It is technically the startings of a sinus infection.
Oh, okay.
The weather change and all the wet weather we've had here is the pollen has gotten something in it that's killing me. So,
well, I know my allergies seem to be bothering me more now than it has in the recent years. I think with this warm weather so quickly, and it was instant, a lot of the pollen floating around is going to be crazy.
Yeah. Breaking news: Evander Kane is not on the bench to start the third. Oilers are down to 10 forwards only.
Wow.
So you got 3 lines and one floater.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna end up being who can survive this round.
And I mean, if you're the Stars, this is exactly what you need to get yourself back in this.
Oh yeah.
Right? You're down 1. They're gonna be, their bench is short. You need to find a way to turn up and get a goal early here in the start of the third.
Definitely.
While we're still waiting for our guest to join us, let's also talk. Oh, as I say that, he looks like he's here. So let's hold on to that. And welcome to the show, Dave Campbell, the color analyst for the Elks on 880 CHED. Ched?
You said that with a question mark.
That was a question mark. I started saying it. I was like, did I remember that right? I closed the tab that I had it up with.
You nailed it, Jake. You nailed it.
How are you doing, Dave?
Good. How are you guys?
We are fantastic.
So, Dave, I don't know if you remember, but you and I met, was it last year or the year before? I was up in Edmonton at the Combine with Mr. Rod Peterson, a very dear friend of mine.
Okay, yes, I do remember that now. Yeah.
And then we went up to a Riders game that we went up and we sat in the press box. And it was I have to tell this story because you worked with Brian Hall. And so sitting in the press box and everybody's going down to talk to this guy. And I've never seen his face. I'm from Vancouver. So I look over and I point out and I'm like, Rod, who is that guy? And Rod chuckles and he just points up to the wall. And he goes, that's who it is.
He's a legend.
Yep. The legend. You got to work with that legend. What was that like?
I remember the first day I met him, I walked into the studios of then 630 Ched. Yes. I was 21 years old in 1995. It was the day after the Labor Day game. And I remember sitting in their front lobby, which hasn't changed in 30 years since I've been there. And I was sitting downstairs waiting to get called up by then program director Dave Jamieson. And the door opens and here's Halsey. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I just want to go hide now. Like, this is crazy. Then he comes downstairs and he goes, hey, beautiful day, isn't it? And the rest was history. So nice. I got to produce back then the Eskimos and and Oilers as well. That's how I first met Morley Scott, and of course Rod Phillips, who's a legend around here. Everyone I mentioned who I've mentioned so far is a legend. And Halsey brought me into the broadcast in 2004, and I worked on sidelines and I did post game, and worked with Brian and John Farlinger, who was the color analyst, and then I succeeded Farley. You can never replace Farley. He was outstanding.
Yes.
But then I've been in the booth since 2006, and Halsey has been such a great mentor to me. He's been like a father to me, and I just saw him yesterday, and he's looking good for a guy who's in his early 90s. So yeah, he's
in his early 90s.
He's in his 90s. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, he's looking good for. I wish I was in half that shape.
Yeah, we all do.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out to join us. We are kind of going around the league and bringing people on. We had Mr. Caravetta from the Lions.
My good
2
buddy.
weeks ago. We had Mark Steven on last week. Now we have you coming on to talk about I almost did it, Jake, the Edmonton Elks. Even though you guys are embracing the Eskimos name this year, talk about that if you can.
Yeah, I mean, that was all part of the festivities yesterday, which was Monday. And the organization brought longtime equipment manager Dwayne Mandrusiak, who was unceremoniously let go in September of 2020 during COVID. Oh. And, it was basically a separation. At that point, they brought him back last year to induct him into the Builders Wall, and it was the first time he stepped into Commonwealth Stadium since, well, really, I think it was 2020, I suppose, because he was still working even though there wasn't a season. And then yesterday, he's going to work his 50th season in green and gold as a historian and a community liaison. And Chris Morris, the new president and CEO, said, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically, there's been elements of our history that's been stripped away internally, and our past has been like we're getting more and more apart from who we were. So the name Eskimos will be used internally with pride and as a symbol of success, and that name means a lot. It's values that surround that or that are under that name. And championships and class and everything like that. Not what other people want to, I understand the sensitive issues with the name, but I don't think the team ever used it in an insensitive way. And I want to be sensitive to the concern without sacrificing what the name really meant to the organization. When people say they mention the name Eskimos and football and the CFL, I think we know what we're talking about here. Once an Eskimo, always an Eskimo. That sign is back that Dwayne put on his office, the equipment office, in 1979. And he said they were going to throw it out. So he took it before he, when he came back to get his things, and he just took the sign. It was sitting in his basement, right? So the word Eskimos will be on the fire truck. So the iconic fire truck is coming back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll look different than, the retro one, but still.
I got to admit, I hated that fire truck. I'll tell you right now, being a BC Lions fan, growing up, I mean, I lived blocks away from the old Empire Stadium. We couldn't beat you guys. You played on the team. What? You were on the team in 75, were you not?
Oh, me? Oh, no. I was 1 year old in 19.
What year? Oh, sorry, 95 you played.
No, I did not play. Actually, I did not play. So I played high school ball, and that's as far as my on-field talents went. And I've just been a football junkie ever since. In 95, that was my first year at 630 Ched, which is now 880 Ched.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and first year on the broadcast was 2004. I've been doing the games ever since. So my 21st season. So, I mean, it's just trying to connect the past to the present, and the name isn't changing. It's Elks, and as Chris Morris said, and I think all that are, keenly aware of why the reasons why the name changed
Yes.
are the reasons why they can't go back, okay, to that name. There are major financial implications to changing it back, because there were
Oh, yeah.
major financial implications to change the name in the first place, right? So,
Exactly.
and yeah, and there maybe is some, there are some other reasons too, but the name itself, I'm glad it's back, and I'm glad it's not used. This organization's never used it in a derogatory type manner, and I'm just glad that it's, it doesn't feel wrong to say it anymore, because in some ways you felt like you were doing something wrong if you
Yes.
said the name, but
And I mean, I'm 60, so I remember the Eskimos in their prime. Like I said, I hated them. I can
yeah,
remember going to the first year we beat the Eskimos in forever, would have been 84. It was the year the Canucks made their first run. I think it was 84. And it was a white towel year. And when we beat the Eskimos sitting in Empire Stadium, people were waving the white towels like we had just won something. It was a regular season game, but I remember being a kid, and it was a big deal. So
now
I've
I've seen too many losses in Vancouver. I hope that changes, to be honest, on the
Yes.
7th. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
My bias.
exactly. Speaking of that, from COVID going forward after the COVID years, pandemic years, it's not been the greatest time for up in Edmonton.
Nope.
Yet last year we saw a bit of a resurgence with 7 games. Yeah, with 7 games you won. What's your outlook coming forward into 2025?
It's interesting year because, and this happens in football once in a while, and it's happened here. You have a new president and CEO in Chris Morris. You have a new VP of football operations and GM, Ed Hervey, who's back here for a second stint under the GM role. Mark Kilam's the first-time head coach, but he's had over 20 years experience,
Yes.
and especially many years as a coordinator on special teams. A new coaching staff, which is a mix of veteran and first-time coordinators like J.C. Sherritt. And then you have the veteran and Jordan Maximic on offense. Demetrius Maxey is the best D-line coach in the league, in my opinion. So he's here. Steven Sorrells has done an excellent job in his previous 2 years here. He and Aaron Grimes are the only ones that were retained. So it's a mix of young and old. And Ed Hervey went to work in free agency. He did Ed Hervey-like things, spend money. But you have a private owner, Larry Thompson, who said, "Here you go.
Yes.
Go to work." And he spent $2.2 million thereabouts. That's what John Hodge reported on from 3 Down Nation. So, he had to rebuild the roster in the way it needed to be built. And I do agree with how he did it. The thing that bothered me about Chris Jones, it's not like he didn't sign good players, but the distribution of money was, I think, out of whack. Signing Kenny Lawler to a $300,000 deal in 22, who didn't even want to be here, other than he got paid. Eugene Lewis, who I think is a great receiver, but spending $320,000 on him, and then you're spending elsewhere. You're neglecting your defense. And last year they only had 2 veteran starters, if you count Niles Morgan, who was in his 4th year, and
Right.
then Lucius Purefoy, but the rest were young. They're all young, a bunch of second years or first years.
Right.
And I just think the way that Chris Jones spent the money, it didn't make a lot of sense, because it didn't address the areas where you need to in football. And if you're Ed Hervey, it's pretty simple, and it makes sense. You address both lines. You address your quarterbacking, which you did first by signing Tre Ford to the extension and a very friendly deal for this year anyway, and then go out and trade McLeod Bethel Thompson for Cody Fajardo, retooling that offensive line a bit, bringing in David Beard and Gregor McKellar. The D-line, though, he went to work. I mean, bringing back Jake Serezna, bringing basically 3/4 of the Argos line, which is really good, and Robbie Smith and Jarrett Brinkman. Going to work in the secondary and bringing in the vets there with Royce Metier and Kobe Williams and, of course, Tyrell Ford. And I like the receiver additions of Dunbar. I love Alex Hollins signing. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to be good. The question mark is kicker. We'll see how that works out. But, Ed Hervey said, like, the way to do this is really to build through the draft with your Canadian talent. But he had no choice this time. I mean, we need a winner here quickly. We need this group to come together as fast as possible. And I think that's why he went to work on the defense, especially because that defense is going to have to probably hold the fort in the first few games before the offense figures it out. But it's all new. It's all new on special teams. It's all new on defense, and it's all new on offense.
Who did they bring in for kicker?
So they have right now there's two. Vincent Blanchard, who was their draft pick, middle round pick out of Laval last year, was here in camp last year, then wouldn't accept a practice roster deal. He's trying to find NFL work, and then he couldn't, and then he came back late in the year, played the final game of the season at home against the Argos, and has been here ever since. And then Campbell Fair is a draft pick of the Stampeders back in 23 in the third round, I believe, and he was let go by the Stamps last training camp, but he kicked around Edmonton late last year on the PR. So they're battling. They had a good first week in camp. They were both 90%. And then the mock game occurred in Sherwood Park at Emerald Hills for Fan Day, and they both really struggled, and then kind of struggled a couple days after that, and then kind of rounded into form a little bit before the game in Calgary. But they only had one field goal attempt, and Blanchard nailed it from 40 in that 31-4 loss. So I don't know if this is going to be resolved by week one. This is probably going to have to go in to the regular season.
Gotcha. I know we're based out of Calgary now, and you talk to Stamp fans, and I'm telling you, they're planning the parade already. They won 2 preseason games, and I'm like,
way to go! You beat 2s and 3s. Wonderful. That's awesome. Holy smokes! Pump the brakes, Stamps fans.
I just kind of giggle. It's just that typical Stamp fans, because Stamps fans were used to having a great team for a decade, and now they suck. Let's be blunt. They're not a good team. They weren't a good team last year.
Should be better this year, I think, though. They should be better.
Can't be any worse.
No.
Let's jump back to quarterback. Signing Tre Ford, I think, was probably one of the smartest thing the Elks did. Then they went out and traded for who I think is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, next to, of course, Nathan Rourke. Bringing in Cody. Yes, I'm biased. I admit it. We're called irrational fans for a reason. Talk about Cody and bringing in his experience. Cody's going to be the backup? Is that or is it going to be 1A, 1B?
He's here as an insurance policy. Unless Tre Ford gets hurt or it just completely bottoms out at some point, then it's Cody Fajardo's ball under center. I think for him it was kind of a shock in Montreal. All of a sudden, the choice was, and I can understand why Danny Machocha chose this route. You got Davis Alexander, who's younger, against Cody Fajardo versus Cody Fajardo, who is in his early to mid 30s now. Tough decision, though. Tough decision. But I think they just felt that from both ends, and salary was an issue with both quarterbacks too. I think for each GM, Ed Hervey with McLeod Bethel Thompson and Cody Fajardo with Danny Machocha, just swap those players, restructure the deals, and Cody restructured right away, and his deal is ultra friendly. So I mean, their quarterback room it's very economical. So I think he's coming in to do what he needs to do, and that is to support Tre Ford and to be ready if necessary, that if he has to go in or not, or if he has to go in. So I don't know if something down the road, let's say, if he might be trade fodder at some point. I don't know. It's way too early to think that, but I do have that in the back of my head. But I do think that's way premature right now. So he's here to support Tre Ford, who has been given the keys, and I don't know if this will work out, but this is the best chance for Tre Ford to, solidify as himself as a starting quarterback in this league. I'm happy for him that he's getting the opportunity, because I think he deserves the opportunity. And so far so good. I think it's a much more comfortable situation for Tre because he knows he's the starter and he's not thinking that Cody Fajardo is breathing down his neck, where it would have been that way last year under Chris Jones if you never would have done this, but if he did decide, okay, Tre's number 1 and McLeod Bethel Thompson's number 2, would have been a good scenario, much better scenario now because Tre has the complete, he trusts Ed Hervey, he trusts Mark Kilam, he trusts what is told to him is true.
Nice. I was going to go back to Chris Jones, but I'll leave that.
That's probably good. That's the best. Yeah, that's for the best.
I've heard so many stories, as you know, from Mr. Peterson. It's like, oh no, don't touch that. Training camp. What has been the biggest surprise for you coming? Well, we're almost out of training camp. Another week, I guess. Surprise?
I don't know. I can't say there's 1 or 2 players that have really popped, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be hard if you're a young player to make this roster. Yeah. And I'm thinking right now, I'm looking at the starters on offense. Gregor McKellar has a chance to make right guard, right? And he's be the most inexperienced player on that offense. Or Zach Mathis could be another one. Either Zach Mathis or Arkell Smith, my view, is going to win the 5th receiver job. Something fell in that closet. I don't know what the heck's in there. Anyway, that's fine.
The ghost.
We'll deal with that later. And then on defense, I mean, their youth is, Nick Anderson, Cordell Jackson, Devondrick Bynum, but they're insulated with veterans. And even with McKellar, I mean, he's got Boyko to his right side. He's got David Beer to his left, right? I mean, that's a great situation. You got Cordy and Ivy on the left. So, I'm just trying to think, no one's really popping.
Okay.
But there's some good players like Isaiah Knight I've liked, out of UBC, the running back. He knows he's going to have to make the team through special teams, and so far so good, right? It's just Joe DeBlanco's looked good in his second year at linebacker, and he's in a tough spot because he's behind Niles Morgan and Nick Anderson, respectively. So I just think, look, this has been the best training camp I've ever witnessed. This is the best training camp I've ever covered because Mark Kilam and Ed Hervey planned this really well because they've been through training camps and they know you cannot grind players to the ground like you used to. Yes. Rest and recovery have been built into this camp, and it's been outstanding. And I think talking to players, they feel, A, that they're taken care of, and B, that there's still gas left in the tank. With Chris Jones, he liked to compete. So on day 1, he'd run, 80 to 100 plays and then do it again for day 2. And by day 3, day 4, we're getting to that Tuesday, Wednesday period. There was injuries that popped up right away because they're gassed. And B, that's when fights started to happen. I can only recall in this camp 2 fights, if you want to call them that. They haven't been really fights. There's been, a little bit of pushing and shoving and, maybe, grabbing the helmet or something like that, but it's been quickly extinguished. So to me, it's been the best part of this camp. It's been well thought out. It's been scheduled well, and it emphasizes on a lot of fundamentals, a lot of coaching, because when, the thing is, when you're running 80 to 100 plays, you have no time to correct mistakes. None. There's no coaching involved. Right?
Yes.
But here, when they go through their 12-on-12 periods or 7-on-7 periods, offense versus defense, they're not, they're running their 10 to 15 plays in a period, and then they move on to, fundamental drills or special teams or things like that. So it's been the best camp that I have ever covered, and this is my 21st.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. What is success this year?
Well, playoffs for sure.
Okay.
Home playoff game would be outstanding.
Yes.
I think, if you get to the playoffs, no matter how you get there, I think it's success.
Okay.
If you can get in through the West, I think that's good. In the West, I think, I thought Regina or the Riders were the best team. Their offensive line injuries to McEwen and Gagnon make me a little worried. But I do think they're good. I do think they'll find a way to probably deal with that. Winnipeg, you still go, they're older, but they find a way. BC's a wild card. Calgary's a wild card. Edmonton's a wild card. So I think it's those three that are going to have to fight it out for that last spot. But you never know. I mean, they could maybe push up. It's possible, right? And I think the Elks have a chance to do that. I think their defense has a chance to be really, really good this year. Their Canadian content is so much better. You know, I always say, like, I'll just say 99 because it's safe. But double-digit win, I mean, why not? I think it's not a reach to say that at this point. I really don't, just because the pieces that are here, the way this team the way Ed Hervey built the team, it's the way you should. You got to have solid quarterbacking. You got to have solid line play on both sides.
I'm hearing a whole lot of optimism in your tone, so that's very exciting. I think the best thing for this league is have 9 strong teams, where we have 9 contenders rather than have those 2 in the West and 2 in the East, and everybody is fighting for that last third spot.
I agree.
Been a fan since the day I was born, 1964. I honestly don't remember not watching CFL. So to see it where it is now, I get excited. I think the league's probably in the best shape it's been in a long, long time. I don't want to keep you much longer, but because I appreciate your time. But before I go, I must tell you, Rod Peterson wanted me to say hello to you.
Thank you.
He is actually going to be traveling to Moose Jaw tomorrow.
He remembers where Canada is. That's good.
He comes back. He's actually doing the play-by-play for the Moose Jaw Express in the baseball league there.
Oh, good for him. Well, tell Roddy hello from me.
I will do that.
Roddy's a good friend, and I miss him for sure.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Jake and I are going to try to come up to Edmonton this year. It's really weird trying to get credentials to actually be able to cover this league. Is way harder than I thought it was going to be.
It shouldn't be, because, I mean, with the media has shrunk, so
good way to say it.
Yeah, any eyes on the product and any people willing to cover this league legitimately should be very much considered. So
it was funny.
I
was chatting with a gentleman out of the Calgary organization, and he was saying that they had to turn away all types of people that wanted to have press credentials to cover the league. And I was like, well, I was in your press box last year and it was empty. I didn't say that. I didn't say it. I did say it on the air.
That's good.
You might just turn the key. But anyways, we're hoping to be up there for a game. If we do, we'll look you up.
Please do. And I had fun tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Dave. We appreciate the time.
Usually Jake talks way more, but he's being a weenie and he's got a little bit of a cold, so he can't talk.
Just the start of a sinus infection. No big deal.
I get those twice a year, I think. But next time I'll come on. Jake will give you lots of airtime.
Perfect.
There you go.
Maybe I interview you. I don't know.
There you go, Dave. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy this season.
Thank you very much. You as well.
We'll talk to you.
You bet.
Dave Campbell from the Edmonton Elks, who are going to embrace the Eskimo name. I like it. Sorry, Jake, I did it again, but I assumed you wanted me to, where your voice is just not. I could hear it.
Yeah, no, after a full day of talking and feeling like this in the throat, the best thing for me to do is let you run shot with Dave there, and just so much insight and, like you said, optimism for the first time around the
and
Elks.
you could hear the excitement in his voice. It was cool to hear. I have to get mad at Wikipedia because they said he actually played. So I'm going to go back to Wikipedia and yell at them.
You go yell at the Wikipedia.
There you go.
I totally agree with his evaluation that 9-9, 10-8. That's a fantastic season.
I think if they can get to 10, and I think in my head it has to be a success. I'm guessing you will probably need 12 to get into the playoffs. 11 to 12 wins to get into the playoffs this year.
I think
disagree with his opinion that Winnipeg Riders will be 1-2. I don't think Winnipeg's going to be a force like they were. I'm thinking it's going to be probably Saskatchewan and then Calgary, BC, and Edmonton fighting out for that second and third, with literally Winnipeg pulling up the dregs.
It could. I mean, it's hard to count that. Like, as much as I want to count them out, it's so hard to count out the Bombers, because for so many years they've just been able to. Again, we talked about it last week and all last year. Oh, Bombers are dead. The Bombers are too old. They're dying,
and they keep going,
and they keep turning around and figuring it out. So
yeah, totally agree.
But I do think that the West in the CFL is going to be probably the toughest to get into the playoffs. It has been in many, many years.
Yes,
because
agree.
I think you have all 5 teams that can legitimately say, well, no, I'm better than these 2 teams.
Yeah.
Right. And be like, yeah, okay. Like, that makes sense.
You know what I find funny is both Calgary and Edmonton reporters are underestimating what the Lions are going to be capable of this year. Mark Stephen made the same kind of comment, and same with Dave Campbell, saying that BC's that wild card. I don't know. I think BC's got a good team. I like it on paper. Obviously, we haven't seen it yet.
Yes.
The first preseason didn't count.
No.
Preseason doesn't count in this league, let's face it. Most leagues.
And I mean, we have a game on Friday. Yeah, Friday.
Yeah.
That's the wrap up, and we're taking on the Elks, which will be also the home opener a week later. So
yes,
it's one of those. I understand why they would say it's a wild card, because you don't know exactly what Nathan Rourke is going to bring. If he brings classic Rourke, full training camp ready to go, then I don't see where there's going to be any problems.
Yeah, it's how he goes. How he goes is how the team's going to go.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think, the big thing for...
And I guess the big unknown for us is that offensive line. It has to be a million times better than it was last year, because if not, then, I mean, yes, Rourke's a scrambler. He can do that. That's not an issue, but it's not going to be what we need.
Yeah, and I also think the play calling is going to be built very differently this year. So
Big time.
With Mr. Shut Up Buck running.
Every time I say his name, I remember this joke. Jake and I were watching a hockey game, and who is he with?
Jason Claremont.
Jason Claremont and Buck Pierce were at a Canucks game, and you could see that Claremont was trying to watch the game, and Buck's just beacon in his ear, and he looked at him. You could literally read his lips. It's like, shut up. And he looked back at the game.
And that's just been one of the things that has just stuck with us for years, is just shut up, Buck.
Shut up, Buck.
Anything else you want to talk about in the world of CFL this
No, I'm good, buddy. I'm very good.
All right. Well, you know what? It's only been like a 38-minute show, but I think we should wrap up.
42-minute show, but
no, you were late. If you look up in the top left-hand corner.
Sorry, I had to lock the doors.
Yeah, we'll lock the doors faster next time. But if we wrap up now, we can catch the last couple minutes of the Dallas Stars Edmonton Oilers game.
Go do it.
And I'd like to do that. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in. We appreciate your turning in, your questions that were submitted. I didn't have a chance to actually ask any of them, but they were actually answered throughout the course of the interview. So it worked out perfectly.
I didn't see any questions.
I posted on Twitter before the show went live.
Oh, did you? Oh,
and we did have a couple people reach out. So,
awesome.
Well, looks like it might be a 3-1 series lead for Edmonton as they score with 2 minutes and 27 seconds left in an open net.
Oh,
it is 3-1 for the Edmonton Oilers.
And they'll go up 3-1.
And they'll go up 3-1. But let's see. Anything's possible. There's still 2 minutes left.
There you go.
Go enjoy the game. We will see you guys here next week. I believe we're going to be going live on Wednesday. Keep an eye out.
Nope.
Keep an eye out on our social media, because the old man's changing things all the time.
Steve Halstetter.
I don't care what you've got tickets to. You figure it out. Close down the concert. Bring your laptop out. We'll make it work. But check out our social medias to find out when we're going live next week. Have yourselves a wonderful week. Mwah, goodbye. Peace.
Bye.